What's up, everybody? Welcome to our first debrief live stream. Hey, I'm Andre Dantzler, and super pumped to have those of you joining us. This will be a fun, different way for us to do a debrief. We thought we would try it out live, so welcome for those of you that are watching. And, yeah, woohoo! And today, it's a different kind of debrief because we're going to use this to talk about our experience at NAB. So we were fortunate enough to have 5 of us go to an NAB together, and yeah, we want to share some of our adventures. Of course, we've watched, probably like you, a lot of different videos talking about everyone's gear and stuff that they found at NAB. We're going to do that as well. Part of maybe a slightly different angle is we're also just going to be talking about our experience, maybe what we're going to think about doing next time differently, what were things that we did that were super cool, all of that. So thanks for taking a few minutes out of your day to join us here. We got a lot to talk about. So many things to talk about there. We were there before the event started and stayed to the very, very end. So let's kind of kick things off. Jay, I think you're kind of master of ceremonies of getting all the things in place. So what's our first thing we're going to be talking about, I guess, is just setting up the booth, right? So let's kind of get into what happened. So with us, we were really fortunate. We have an amazing partner called Chromolite. And Chromolite, you can see some of the graphics here. Chromolite is the paint that we use in our green screen studio. And so they were awesome. They reached out to us and said, hey, what do you think about us actually putting your logo on our booth and coming out and partnering up together? And it's like, that sounds amazing. Let's do that. So I got out of this part. My son was turning 7, and so I missed going up early. So Jay, Morgan, and Isaac came up early to help set up the booth. So I'll let you guys start there and just talk about the booth setup experience.
Yeah, totally. I can start that off. Shout out to Chromolite, obviously. Asla, Mehmet, and I can't remember the other guy's name. He did not speak any English, but we did end up becoming friends by having the others translate for us. We had an absolute blast of a time showing off what we do, also showing off their paint. And I feel like it was a great collaboration. We got a lot done. I think we sold a lot of paint, which is awesome. But it was great because we would hang out and with people coming to the booth, they would get to check out the Chromolite paint and, you know, also see our reel. And we got to kind of like network that way by being able to talk to people and show them what we do and tell them about us. And like I said, it was just a great collaboration. When we showed up, they had it set up a certain way. And pretty quickly, we kind of redirected how they set it up because we were pretty sure we were going to actually demo the.
Right.
So we had what do we have? Ursa, and we had an Ultimat, and we had their setup. So we were pretty sure we were going to demo. That quickly changed because obviously what we do here is in a controlled environment in the studio where we're able to dial in our lighting, and that's really what makes the key so good and what, you know, makes the magic happen, for lack of better terminology. And when we got there were lights on the floor, lights on the wall, and then a really warm light in the ceiling coming out of the actual Chromolite banister up top, and then another very cool light that was one that was like normally in the convention center. So it was like, here's three different kind of temperatures.
And we were missing one critical thing, which was we didn't end up having any lighting for the talent. So it was like, oh, cool, we've lit the background. So you guys are over there feeling the pressure. I'm not there.
Freaking out.
And I'm like, well, see what you guys can do, because I think they're expecting us to do these demos. And so you were really trying hard. Hey, Will Best, I see your comment. See the rest of you in there. That's awesome. Hey, Jake. Hey, Justin. What's up, everybody? So yeah, these pictures are hilarious to me. I think there's a sequence where you can see Jay's
close to giving up all hope.
Oh man, because you're being told like we have to do it these certain ways, and man, none of that was going to work for us, whatever those different ways were for different reasons. And so good news after all of this. I mean, special shout out to Black Magic Design. They loaned us an Ultimat and a controller and an Ursa and a lot of other pieces, and of course, Zero Density had their box there. So there was a lot of different tech there But at the end of the day, there was no lighting for the talent. So it's like, well, we can only go so far with this lighting. So so we did an abandon. And like Jay was saying, we ended up just playing this reel that we put together, which we had put together for our phones just to like show people.
Yeah.
So thank goodness we had that ready to go, and we played that in a sequence. We had like kind of a video that shows.
It's
I know, Justin. It says it all, doesn't it? And so
yeah, Justin, the feeling was not incredible, to say the least. Because at the same time, shout out to all the guys at Zero Density. Owner and his team are really great. We love them. And to come to find out that, didn't you say Mehmet was the founder?
Yeah, he was the founder of Zero Density.
And we hung out with him, the entire time, basically. What a cool guy, man. Like, literally, like, his life stories were really cool, and he was showing me some of the stuff he did in his spare time. But I'll click on this. This isn't the ending. This isn't how it looked the whole time. Morgan and I...
we ended up redoing all of this, actually.
Yes, right.
Well, we redid a lot.
Yeah.
And what's funny is Mehmet is also the guy who started Chromolite. And the whole time we get there, and I'm like, nope, can I redo your lighting? Can I rip the tape up off the floor and redo the cable? Can we rewire this and that? And I'm like, he doesn't speak amazing English. He speaks English, but I'm going over to Asla, who speaks pretty good English, and I'm saying, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I just want it to look good. I just want you guys to look awesome. And after like the 5th time of apologizing, she looked at me and she was like, Jay, stop. She was like, what you guys are doing is helping us. Please stop apologizing. We really appreciate you. So what we did was we basically tore it up and kind of redid everything and made it look pretty different. Near the end,
You did. And you got so creative with the lighting of trying to get that all. I mean, because it's like, well, let's take these lights and switch this around and do all that. Oh, what's up, Emma Brown? She's overseas right now. So miss you as well. And so... you did great. Like, you somehow got false color looking pretty amazing. Actually, it was really impressive, the end result. But once we realized, actually all we really have to show is here's the before and here's the after. And I think if we did this again now, I realize all we really need is a ton of wipes. It's like, see that awesome looking shot? Surprise, it's on green. Yep. And we probably just needed that to happen over and over and over again. But that worked out well. Hey, just so you know, your work was not done in vain. I did have one guy, and he came up, and I did key him out real quick because he was like, I want to see it happen, and I'm like, fine, fair, let's do it, and so we used that and did that for him. So we at least got something on there. So, okay, well, that was the Chromolite booth. Do you have
you
the
want to see the picture? Yeah. Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, so there's the team, everybody that was there. And then I think before that, there's a couple of booths or a couple of pictures of the booth with some of our
here's the
graphics
backside, so sort of showing where they sell a lot of their paint.
Right there. I was trying to point. Oh, watch. Hold on.
Are you doing video
Wait
pencil?
for it. Kablamo. Oh, no. It seemed like my video pencil was going to work.
If you were wondering if we're live.
We really are live.
Yeah, there
it is.
Oh, there it is. Kablamo.
Took a minute.
Right there.
There we are. Well, and if you go off that, I'll go to the better one, plus a great selfie here.
Oh, my gosh. Look at that. So, what a good-looking guy.
Yeah.
So, let me just give him some hair. Just test that out. Okay, definitely got a little latency. I think that's mostly on my end. But yeah, so there we go. So we had the little SociallyU logo. That was really cool to see at NAB, something I've gone to many times in my life.
Real quick, I just want to say one thing. One thing we're not really able to show pictures of. We had a flight at 6-something in the morning from Chattanooga basically get canceled. We thought we were getting moved to first class on another flight, and then that one also got canceled. So not only we canceled our flights, and then we got in a car, drove to Atlanta, hit Buc-ee's for some barbecue, obviously, drove to Atlanta, got on a plane, a direct flight to Las Vegas to get there later than we intended. Then we stayed up pretty late. So I did the math, and that day in Vegas hours, we were up from 1 a.m. till 11 p.m. Between traveling and trying to get all that. So, man, that night, we were pretty wiped, and we were staying at Resorts World, which I highly recommend. We'll talk about why here in a little bit for another reason. But the next morning, we got up, and I was tired, and I think you guys were too. Morgan, Isaac, you can chime in, but we were really super stoked to be able to get in early to NAB, which we're complete nerds. So we were like, hey, we're here early, so let's walk around before anybody's here and like see all the booths and see where people are at before anybody shows up. And then we got over to the booth, and then one of our new friends, Colin, came over. And Andre, you can sort of explain this relationship a little bit, but man, getting to know Colin from Black Magic on this trip, it was like an immediate connection with all of us within like 10 minutes. We were like, okay, this dude is awesome. He was really cool. A true Aussie, but also a really true gentleman and a guy who's very loyal to his brand and also has a lot of experience doing some really cool stuff. So, Andre, you can kind of bring up the relationship with him and talk about what else that entails.
Yeah, so Colin works with Black Magic Design, and he's just an awesome dude. So he's been super helpful with us. You can almost see he's kind of hanging out on the zero density box. Great looking machine, but we did have it all cleaned up. You can kind of see it a little bit there, but yeah, he was great. And a quick shout out before we go straight into Black Magic. One of the other things we didn't end up having was a tripod. And so our friends at Miller, they loaned us a tripod for the event. And so we were able to do that and see, that was really critical, I guess, if we were going to key. Well, we did it once, so that was good. So at least we got that.
Yeah,
so,
shout out to Miller because Chromalight on our behalf went over to their booth and said, hey, our friends are coming to do this. They don't have a tripod, and they loaned us one for the entire time. So, and learned some pretty cool things about Miller tripods. I'm sort of a fan now.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome.
Yeah, so, I came up with a great marketing scheme for Miller tripods, which is they have this little pouch, and I don't know if you can see it in any of these pictures, but it's this little pouch you can put all your power supplies and everything in. I'm like, you guys, you're known for being from Australia. It should be called the kangaroo pouch.
Nice.
They like that idea. And also, Justin, I see your comment here that covers up my face.
Perfect.
But we were so impressed when we were at NAB. There was no carpet there when Jay, Morgan, and I got there.
Oh, yeah.
And what time was that? It was in the evening.
Dude, we left there around like 9:30
and that's when they had
PM?
started putting carpet out, basically.
Yes.
It was 9:30 the night before. We were sitting there, we were like, how is everything going to come together? Well, part of it was that the first day of the show opened an hour later, and it would come to be a theme that maybe we didn't quite all have the hours of the conference memorized. But yeah, it was crazy to see everything get all set up, everything just go from no anything to, and there's this huge conference here.
Yeah, seamless transition overnight. Those people probably slept really well. So the reason we showed Colin is because we did spend a lot of time over at the Black Magic booth, which some real magic happened, and we got to meet some incredible people. I'll kind of cut over to this graphic, but this is sort of their booth. I'll let somebody take it away.
Yeah, and I think we're showing this pre-conference starting. So here's one of the most amazing things about being an exhibitor. Hilariously, my badge said president of Chromalight, which was pretty funny. But you get to go in before everyone else. So that was pretty awesome because we were able to hop in, kind of walk around. I mean, look, the dude's vacuuming before things are already in place there. So, yeah, it was amazing. Black Magic clearly dominated a lot of the energy and time. They were right across from Ross. Ross also had a ton of activity happening in their booth as well. Black Magic released so many products. Took like almost 3 hours for Grant to get through them all just in his announcement, and that wasn't really even everything. So I was super impressed. In fact, at some point I was joking like, this isn't real, guys. Like this is just here for a few days and then this disappears because it looks like, oh, we're stopping by the Black Magic store that always exists right here in the corner of this building. And then it's like, poof, it's gone. And so, yeah, so you guys went up a day early. Really 2 days early from when I went. And you got to meet a very special person at Black Magic. I'm sure there's a picture or video or something of this. And I was pretty jealous. So, oh, look at that. Oh,
the legend.
Man, so cool. So that's Grant Petty. He's the president of Black Magic Design. And just, man, one of the most authentic, just so real guys that really wants this to succeed. It was really impressive to see. Oh, spoiler. And so, hey, good news. If we fast forward, I was also able to meet him, and Cammie was too. And this video is fantastic because I watched it just a little bit ago, and I mean, it's really pretty shoddy video. But at some point, whoever's filming kind of has. He and I are talking, and he's amazing. He knew who I was. He's like, hey, I want your help with Ultimat. We want to do some stuff together. It's very exciting, cool things. But as we're talking, I don't know exactly. Oh, maybe it happens here. Cammie sees the camera, and then she kind of like, I'm just going to go right here. Oh, and then it cut out. But actually, if it went just a little further, she just like completely disappeared.
Disappeared.
Okay.
It was really funny because like
you're like right there, and then it's like. Kami's just
and
gone.
I'm gone. It was really funny because if you, I love how you find this so funny.
Yeah, it was just funny how you like acknowledge the camera with your eyes and then you just like
Well,
sneak away. It's so funny.
What you didn't see before is like I'm literally like.
That's funny.
Looking in between
So
them,
good.
and then I look and I see the camera. I'm like, oh, I need to get
You're
out
like,
of this
oh,
shot.
get out of here. So anyway, Grant was awesome. He was very gracious. Somehow he knew my name, and he was just very complimentary of everything we're doing with Ultimat, especially, and of course, all the black magic stuff that we're using. This video is cool. That one that was just played for a second, that one was cool because Grant sat there and he demoed himself. Of course, again, our video, whatever. We weren't set up to video this, so these are just kind of.
I got the picture camera, and it's like, we got to take a video. It's going to happen any second. And then we're like, oh, I see.
So Grant is showing the replay thing, but what's important here is Grant just walked over there. So people started asking a question. He jumped in and started editing, going through the whole, I mean, he did the entire workflow, every single piece of this. And, you know, as a CEO of a very small thing, I am very impressed with his level of detail, the knowledge that he has, the humility that he has. I just want to say this because people aren't talking about this. They're talking about the camera and all that. We'll get all that in a minute. But I just want you to hear our experience watching him interact, seeing how he interacted with us. He's just world class. And it just made me root for them so much more watching how the leader, I saw him on closeout day. Didn't we see him like picking up stuff and moving stuff
he was
around?
helping.
Yeah, so he's all in on helping and being a part of it. It was super cool. So that's a big lesson for all of us. Like he's ready to step in and do whatever it takes. And if he saw this camera work, he probably would have stepped in and helped out with that too.
Man, well, I mean, part of it, we didn't have the Cinema 6K full frame, which
That's
we love.
true.
We
That's
love
true.
that camera
That's
so
true.
much. But in that moment, we had been walking around with our Fujifilm X-H2, which we use for stills photography because
Right.
stills, Fuji is just great at stills. We love them for stills.
Yeah.
But, you know, video, it's just like we've learned to love the workflow of Blackmagic Raw so much that I think, especially me, I've just let go of some of the thinking that I've done on other cameras. And so that's not to say it produces a bad image or anything. It's a great image. It's just like I didn't have it all dialed in. And it was funny because we were thinking like, oh man, this may happen. Like, you know, we're not sure how long this thing will go. We definitely had time to go grab it. And that's the one thing we're like, oh, we should have just gone and grabbed the camera.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was still awesome to have it.
Well, Nils, you mentioned in the comments there about like maybe they'll make a new controller for the rest of us kind of thing. So it's clear. In fact, I think we've even got a little video or a photo of kind of a new user interface. So they're definitely thinking through like, what should this look like? There you go. So you can kind of see like this is very prototypey and it's just kind of like, hey, we're starting to reimagine what would a workflow look like. Now, one thing that's super funny is we seem to be kind of celebrities in this booth particularly. And later we found out, I mean, this is so humbling, but we're sharing this as friends. We're just kind of telling you this is the story of what's been happening. So apparently Grant sent a video out, the video of Ryan Summerfield, who's in Australia, and I doing where it looks like we're sitting in the same room talking to each other. So he sent that to the entire staff, said somebody. So I don't know if that's true, but certainly an enormous amount of people had it because quite a few people knew who we were in the booth. And so that was really cool just to hear their compliments. It was, I mean, it's always nice to hear, like, we've been kind of heads down, like building, creating, and not really showing off very much. And so it was really cool. Hey, Miko in the Sky, we absolutely are getting ready to do some more Ultimat training content, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so one of the things you probably are interested in is those cameras. They're really cool. I don't know who wants to say something about the cameras. They released 2 new cameras. One is called the Pixis, and it's a 6K full frame sensor. Looks to be the same sensor as the Blackmagic. Is it called the Cinema camera? Is this
Cinema 6K?
Cinema 6K. That's in the
full frame.
Full frame. That's in the pocket format.
BMCC 6K, I believe, is the short term for it. Only because I've watched every YouTube video on the Pixis now because I plan on getting one. And so we got our hands on it, which was awesome. Was there a line for this thing, dude?
Yeah.
You're just trying to get there. I took one video because Sir Will Vest, who is in the comment section here, was talking to me about it. So I was like, let me just send this to him real quick. And so this was the only video I got of it, but we have some other pictures and stuff. And man, I mean, we already knew the image from this exact sensor was really good from using the Cinema 6K. I mean, if you've been a fan of the channel or anything that we've done, if you've ever noticed, wow, why does their B-roll all of a sudden look really good? One, that's because Isaac is here now. Two, that's because we have the Cinema 6K rigged up on the Ronin. But man, getting your hands on it and getting to try the 3 separate lenses and going through all the things. We already know that the menu system on the Blackmagic camera is like anybody can figure out in the matter of 20 minutes, which is awesome. So getting to work with that and being extremely familiar with it immediately, unlike some other camera brands that, you know, I've had in the past and sort of been confused and had to understand after it took a while to finally get it. It was awesome getting my hands on this thing. And man, the image was just so good. Like, really impressed with how it looked. Just in the camera on the viewfinder, but as well as they had monitors right in front of you. And I'll pull up this set that we were shooting at. So this was kind of the set that they had set up for everybody. And man, the colors bouncing off of the chrome of that motorcycle in the lens, in the Laowa lens on the Pixis 6K, that is when it clicked. I texted Will and I said, "Do you know anybody who needs a C70?" Immediately, because
that's your personal camera.
That is my personal camera. Yeah.
And tell us what you did with your personal camera.
I already sold it.
And why did you sell it?
Because I'm going to pre-order a Pixis. And for all of you watching who may have opinions, a lot of the people that I've seen opinions from online, like none of them have ever gotten their hands on it. And I'm telling you, once you just see the image, it's very different.
Can I go on a micro rant?
Sure,
this
absolutely.
Is a micro.
Absolutely.
Hi, welcome to the micro rant.
Welcome to therapy.
Hi,
therapy with Andre.
Hey, everybody on YouTube, simmer down. Here's the thought. It seems like all I've heard is everyone say, all they need is a box camera. I mean, we'd probably be rich if we just got $1 after everybody asked for a Blackmagic pocket camera or a box camera. And then here it is. And guys, let me just tell you, it's freaking awesome. Like, they have thought through so many things. And then all I hear is like, well, the screen doesn't flip out. It's like, well, that was the Ursa Mini. Like, you can get that with the screen that flips out. Well, the thing though is that it doesn't have NDs. It's just like, it's $3,000. So I would just say, like, be careful to not quickly fall into that stuff. Now, some of these things may, in fact, actually be deal breakers, right? And so there's different things that different people are doing with the cameras that are legitimate deal breakers.
Yeah, for sure.
So you have to watch out for that. But I think it is so easy to fall in but they didn't, whatever. It's like, man, they made a box camera that I'm telling you that Isaac and I have talked so much about this sensor because of using it on the cinema camera, and it's nuts how good it is. It is so stinking good. Like, the skin tones, I'm like, what is this? So, yeah, exactly. Well, no one's saying like, the Komodo
this is the exact
doesn't,
thing I was about to bring up. What box camera has a flip out screen?
It's just silly.
What box camera?
Yeah.
I think that's against the antithesis of that's
exactly.
not what it is.
Yes. So I think the whole point there is, what I want to say is, let's be careful as humans not to get stuck in the negative cycle of whatever the thing is. It's just so easy to be a cynic, and just be careful. Just evaluate it and go like, yeah, maybe that won't work for us for reason X and Y. But just everybody is like, so like, I'm telling you, this camera's form factor looks money. Like, the way they've thought through everything is very cool. So we're pumped about it. It's missing something for us, which is shader controls. And we use that a ton, where we're going in and setting the f-stop. We're changing the contrast. We're doing a lot of different things with it. So it's missing some stuff for us too. But
OLPF as well.
Yeah, it doesn't have OLPF. So there's some things missing there for us that we have to consider, So of course, so we may not jump over to it right away for our needs, but for $3,000, I can't tell you how amazing of a deal this camera is.
I will say, the first time, like, I heard a lot of people complain about it and be like, oh, it's awful. Ugh. And so I went in it with, like, I guess it's bad. I don't know. So then Jay and I went to the Blackmagic booth and we saw it. And I saw the image and I was like, that is kind of gross. But turns out some person fiddling with it before totally messed it up.
Yeah. Cammy saw it.
Yeah, I saw it and I was like, this is disgusting.
Like,
I hate this. This camera is gross.
Somebody touched every setting and made it just like, I feel like they went, okay, I want this camera to look as bad as possible. And then they left.
Yeah. And then Jay
because
fixed
I just set everything back to normal, like I can't remember what the shutter angle was set at. The tint was all the way to one side, so yada yada.
It was so bad. And then Jay fixed it, and then I was like, oh, hey, this is really pretty. Yeah. I'm not going to complain about this at all.
The dynamic range and the skin tones just look so good on this camera. Again, assuming it's the same as what we've seen in our cinema camera.
Yeah.
They also introduced another camera. It's the 12K. That thing is boss.
Crazy.
Like,
I have a video here that I think really demonstrates it. So I went ahead and pointed it at, they have this super high dynamic range scene here. So you can see this is my video of the monitor that's showing the scene. So I'm kind of just showing, there it is, super zoomed in here, T4 180. You can see there's some highlights there and some really dark shadows there. And I'm like, what does the false color show?
Right.
So here's the false color of that scene. And what you'll notice is that barely any of it is entirely under or entirely over.
That's the only that little
part of the leaf and some of the rope is, and even the rope isn't all the way under. That'd be bright pink.
Right.
It's just almost all the way under. So that means this entire scene, which I'll go back to it, showing you the kind of wider angle. This entire scene right here is all within the dynamic range of the camera. Oh, well, hold on. Let me see if I can get a good freeze frame. This is really hard to do.
Nice.
I forgot to pop this into...
Nice.
There we go. So this entire scene, that bright window right in the middle, within the dynamic range. The super dark plant within the dynamic... The whole thing is within the dynamic range of the sensor. Yeah. And that's set to ISO 125. So that's not even set to its native ISO 400 because ISO isn't real. And so it's crazy. It's just like that dynamic range is real. And it looked great on the screen, too.
And then Morgan, if you bring up ProPres here.
I wish we had Ryan Summerfield here to talk about this.
Man, wouldn't that be nice?
It would be.
It'd be so great. This is, I don't know which camera this was, but this was just a fun little somebody threw this in there. This was a lady sticking her face through that exact window.
Just right over here, that little part. Yeah.
But man,
that was super funny. So,
and I'm getting one. So.
Oh yeah, amazing. I mean, that's you're spending your personal money on it. So I think
yes, that's true. That is true. Well, I haven't fully negotiated that part yet, but yeah, we'll talk.
Okay, so the Cine camera though is unbelievably good. Like, I can't believe at this price point it's even available. I remember I was talking to Ryan Summerfield about it, and it was like, man, he had such great ideas and thoughts about this. And I thought, man, if only Ryan Summerfield could be here. Hold on. What?
Look who it is.
What? Is he actually here?
What? Though? Who just showed up?
Hang on, what?
Oh, hey.
Hello, everyone. Hey there.
How's it going?
Oh,
what's up?
Look, just had a flat tire and had to deal with all that. So I'm sorry I'm late, but I'm here.
Well,
or am I here?
Or I don't know. We've gotten a lot better at keying, so we'll let you decide.
Yeah, that walk-in scene is going to sell.
That was pretty
them,
nice.
Dude.
It looked pretty legit. It looked like you really came over here and sat down. So welcome, Ryan. Hey, did you get a chance to go to NAB?
I did.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, tell us about that. Look at this over the shoulder. It looks like you and I are sitting like right next to each other. This is so good.
Is this real? What's going on here? So I was there. I was there from Sunday till Tuesday and flew out from there. So it was a great show. It's like, for me, it's always, the biggest part is always just meeting the people, meeting the engineers, catching up with everyone on the show floor. And that's always my favorite part of it all. And getting your hands on things, that's always just being like, oh, I can touch this.
Yeah.
This feels good.
We were just talking about the, since you just came in.
I was listening in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we were just talking about the Pixis and the Cine camera. Do you have any other thoughts you wanted to share on those cameras?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to hate on the Pixis because apparently I'm not allowed to anymore. So
You can.
Yeah, so like both are great cameras. I personally am more excited about the 12K
Sure.
and the 17K, I guess.
Yeah.
The 17K I feel like is going to be more of a specialty thing because 65mm is kind of huge.
Kind of huge.
Yeah. Although what I'm curious to see is if we get the ability to crop the sensor to essentially a full frame. So you can use it as a full frame for 90% of its life. But if you want to do a job where you pull out the big glass and you go, let's do a 65mm thing because why not?
Right.
That could be a thing. So, I mean, the price jump will probably be more than $7, but we'll see. We'll see.
I'd say more than 10.
Yep, there's a good chance. There's a good chance. Yeah,
It is. I was looking on eBay at some rehoused medium format glass because
Have they all disappeared?
They're still there
right
now, but I bet I'm not a betting man because I didn't do that at NAB. But yeah, it seems like maybe if you're interested in that may be something worth thinking about, seeing some of that rehoused Ascena glass.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Hey, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, the latency is unbelievably low right now.
We've managed to find a new setting.
This one is good. So, hey, you know, our video got a lot of views that we did, and a lot of people at the booths when we walked around, we decided to front load the demo reel that we would pull up on our phone showing you and I. And a lot of people have seen that. They all mentioned that. Did you have anybody talk to you about that?
Yeah, I had a few people come to me and go, that was pretty cool. I'm like, that was kind of nuts. But
so next level is this version.
Here we go.
You saw it here first. Okay, so Justin Allen's asking about the 2110. I think maybe this is a great chance Morgan or Isaac.
Daniel's brought it up first here.
Oh, yeah.
This specific question about the studio converter being obsolete is I want to phrase it as a kind of. And the reason I want to phrase it as a kind of is that it's actually still going to work as a 2110 converter. So what we're thinking of doing, and we're talking about multiple ways.
Sorry, let's start by just describing in a quick way what is 2110.
What is 2110?
And what is it that they've released? Yeah,
great point. Yeah, so I guess 2110, Morgan, you might be better at answering this than me, but to put it shortly, is sending video over IP.
Yeah, so it's a set of standards that's been developed by the Society of Motion Picture, group, SMPTE group, to have video transmitted over IP. And there's a bunch of different ways to do it, but this kind of sets the standard. And Blackmagic has taken that and implemented it up to the 4K 30, but past that, they've done some specialized compression. Which a lot of people aren't a huge fan of, but they're making that open source, is my understanding. And the reason they did all that was to be able to fit it down a 10 gigabit connection. Normally, for anything 4K 60 and up or 4K 50, you would need a 25 gig link to make that happen.
They got to take something that's a 12 gigabit thing and fit it down a 10 gigabit hole. I was like, I kind of have an illustration here. So you got to shave something off. But we've been using the studio converters. Now they say this is a new form of compression than on the studio converters.
Right, because the studio converters use a TCO compression, which is a kind of proprietary compression that they've used to get. Now the studio converters here are sending back a 4K video signal to us and doing return, 2 full 4K returns back to the camera, which is pretty amazing.
Right. And for
down
us,
at 10 gig.
Yeah. And for us, we honestly haven't noticed a huge difference in our quality. It looks the same as what we were doing previously with 12G SDI. And so for us, really what we're looking at when it comes to making with the studio converters is right now we have 8 of them, and they now have a 1U, 1 rack unit, 8 by 8 converter thing. So you can do 8 cameras off of 1 rack unit that convert into, I think it's 16 SDI connections at that point for in and out. And then the problem with that is that we'd have to inject 90 watts of power to each one of those cables, which we certainly can do. Or we're going to get 2 of the 4-unit ones that do power already. And that will enable us to take it from 4 U's of rack space being taken up by converters to put us down to 1 U of rack space, or 1 to 2 U's of rack space, depending on which way we do it. So we're not sure which way we're going with that yet. We haven't really decided. And, it's kind of a little bit down the line. But we think what's really cool about that is it'll really slim us down. And the other thing we're looking at, Morgan, is monitors.
Yeah, so we're talking about getting maybe potentially another one of those 8-unit converters so that we can come off of our existing video hub and replace the monitors in front. So if you kind of look at this behind the scenes shot, you'll see the 12 monitors up here on our monitor wall.
Look at that. Look how Ryan looks like he's totally
that's
sitting
crazy.
right here next to me.
We
Just
can
no one
make
touch
all of
me, 'cause
this.
we'll throw away the gang otherwise.
We can make all of this 2110 theoretically.
Right.
So that's kind of our way of dipping into it, and then of course replacing the camera converters with it.
Love it. So Fareed, that's a great question. Is Ryan really here or not? I mean, we think it looks pretty legit.
I think it looks great.
Cut over to Ryan's. Look at that. Look, you can see me in the background.
The lighting is
It looks
perfect.
pretty good. It looks exactly
the
like
lighting
he's
as
here.
well.
The key is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a little green on your shirt, but I mean, other than that, it looks good.
Oops.
Yeah, just
I
don't.
mean, this is a green shirt.
Just don't clap too many times.
That's true.
If you
See
clap
through.
too many times, the sync will
Yeah,
out of
it'll-
whack. So
DMP Productions asked if we had any reliability issues with our studio converters. I don't think we've had any. I think our problem with reliability has only come due to cabling. So we use really high quality shielded Cat 6A cable, and that's what gives us the most stable
Super
connection.
thick.
It's really thick.
Super.
So it's thick enough that we've created like a dongle to go, an Ethernet dongle to go from the camera, because it was like, man, that's putting so much tension on the Ethernet that's being plugged into the side of the camera. So we just put a little dongle, kind of tie wrapped it, because the Blackmagic Studio camera has no mounting points.
Or Ethercon.
Or Ethercon.
No Ethercon.
Yeah. So we kind of made our own Ethercon setup to take advantage of that. But we do have we got a long run. I'm not sure how many feet we ran, but or meters, as you say.
Wow.
Metas.
Metas. But it's pretty long. So,
Although I have actually had experience with that recently. I had a studio install which I did for a school, and we had the thing in the rack. Like, is it over there? Yep.
yeah.
In the rack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I'm trying to get my eye line. We had a lot of people talk about that.
Line up with,
it's never going to get old, guys.
and yeah, so we had that in the rack. We had a patch lead going to a patch bay, which then had a patch lead going to another one, and then went through lines in the venue. And I think we had around maybe 150 foot in the wall,
Yeah.
and then a patch lead on the other end, and
Yeah.
we we're getting 4K 60 over it. So
Yeah, amazing.
Because I've heard of people saying you need like home runs everywhere, and we put this. It was all Cat 6A rated
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, it actually worked over that distance, which is quite impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, Morgan, do you know what we use from True Cable? I'm seeing it kind
The
of over here,
shielded Cat 6A from True Cable.
Yeah.
Like super heavy duty.
And also, we got to remember live delay. So we're just now answering the question for the first time.
Right.
Oh, that's a funny one. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm watching the stream pop up. We're just now answering his question the first time of the shielded cable.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see
Hey,
if there's
Philip, I see his comment. I stopped by the Chromalight booth Tuesday, but missed you all. He wants to ask some questions about a reel set / plate capture.
Yeah.
And our thoughts on
Gaussian splatting.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I would, first off, Philip, please reach back out. We intended to be there for a lot of the time, and then we got a lot of miles and a lot of steps in that building, those 3 buildings. But I will say I was really interested in talking to people. Most people would ask me, like, oh, are you using Unreal, or are you using, or what are you using, you know? And a lot of the times I would explain the plate process to people. And I learned something. I learned that a lot of people think the barrier to entry of virtual production is a lot higher than it actually is.
Yeah.
Because it's, man, I got to get the computers to run multiple cameras.
To get Unreal Engine. And
exactly. But when I would tell them about our plate capturing process, I saw a light bulb go off in a lot of people's heads. Like, oh, well, I already have those cameras.
Right.
I already have that set up. And I'm like,
Right.
yeah, if you got a computer that you can do multiple playbacks, maybe you have to figure that part out. But yeah, and then it looks a little bit more real when the background's actually technically a real place. So that was a really big aha moment for me, was like educating people, which I never thought I'd ever say that I was educating anybody on anything. But educating people on the plate side of things and how useful that can be. Because I watched some people from different universities be like, oh, if we could capture the the mess hall, whatever they're talking about, the food court. And then you don't have to be in the food court to film the videos. Like, I just saw these light bulbs going off in people's heads. And that was a really cool experience for me. But yeah, Philip, we're sorry we didn't get to see you. That I had a few people tell me that. So we were hustling, dude.
We put on the miles.
Yeah, we did, man. I would see you guys like here and there, and it was like, and bye.
Yeah.
Everybody would
At
go
first,
do
we
their
were
own
trying to
thing.
be together, and then it was like, we just need to go our own ways.
Yeah.
So a couple of quick things about that. We do want to show that. We want to show how we're capturing our plates, the process we're working through. For sure. We've been definitely researching Gaussian splatting, 3D Gaussian splatting. We've also been looking at Smurfs, a new version of Nerf stuff that seems really fast. All that seems great. And then we also have a project that we're not ready to announce yet, but we are working on some other solutions that we think are going to be really powerful. It's a little too early to say yet. Yeah, I have some new, exciting things. Stay tuned. So if that works out well, then we may have some other very compelling and exciting options. In my mind, it works awesome. So now we got to just find out if it's true that it'll work in real life too. Okay, so let's see, Justin, you may get to it. Xymetry mentioned you in NAB update, and you were right next to zero density. Any thoughts on moving to either one of those that you can share? Okay, what I would just say is here's our workflow today is that we are using the Blackmagic Ultimatte to do the keying, and then we're using just regular Unreal Engine to do that. And so the advantages of that, of kind of having these two separated elements, is we're able to stay super current on Unreal. So if Unreal releases 5.4, we'll be able to go to it as quickly as we want to. So that's a pro. A con is it is multiple systems, right, that we're working through and using that. Right now, I don't know the ratio, but we do a lot of plates to Unreal Engine as these two options, and plates are maybe 80% or 70%. I don't know. They're a higher percent, and then Unreal Engine's a lower percent. So there's pros and cons, right, with all of these different systems. We think Xymetry and Zero Density both have pretty awesome workflows. They have some really cool stuff about them that's super interesting. For sure. So we're super interested in that, and always watching for sure. Both of those companies are very different. I think Zero Density is really starting to find a big home in commercial, large-scale television studio solutions, and it seems like Xymetry is probably finding more of a home in some of the solutions like our studio. But for now, we're feeling like we're getting a really great key out of the Ultimatte. We love it being hardware-based, and it seems to be giving us a lot of flexibility, but we don't ever rule anything out. We just want the best thing that we can possibly get to win. Okay, we're going to answer a couple of questions around the plate capturing process. Just know, we hear you. We are trying to imagine how we want to do this, how we want to kind of tell these sort of top-tier tips and tricks, and so we're working on plans of how we can best communicate and guide people through that, and so stay tuned as we go through that. What do we have next, Jay, on our list as we kind of look through kind of some of the things? I think lighting was the next thing that we had.
So a big portion of what my personal research was, and all of us were doing it. It wasn't just me. We were looking for a lighting solution. So what a lot of you don't know is that currently the wall is lit by some kitchen lights from Home Depot.
Yeah, baby.
And slowly but surely,
that's our secret sauce.
Yeah.
Shh, don't tell anybody, even though I'm the one who just said it. Anyways, so we just repainted the wall, and this time we got our paint dialed in because we got the right mixture. We got it completely smooth. We've been experimenting. Cammie and Tyler have been putting in hours on hours, and man, am I glad they finally got it.
Specifically Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler for sure. Tyler has been pushing hard on that, and I was just about to say, thank goodness, because I was afraid for his mental sanity.
Yeah.
If he had kept pushing like he was and not finally got the result that
he literally
did.
tried every possible way to paint.
Dude, every type of
Chroma-Light paint to figure out the best result. It took a month and a half.
At a minimum, yeah. But the research alone, on top of the hours that of actual man work he put in, are incredible. He tried every roller, every nap. He brought in a sprayer. He had a sprayer with Cammy following him with the sprayer, trying to smooth it out.
And to roll it out. Yeah, there were so many different processes. Like, we first just tried the method that Chromalight tells you, and they were like, this is so stressful. And so then we started like just painting it, and we're like, maybe. And then we kept painting it again and again in the same way. And then Tyler's like, let's just try to spray it. Maybe we could spray it. So he sprays it and it's drippy. And I'm like, what if I rolled it? So we rolled it. This whole process was so stressful and so annoying.
The reason we're talking about that is because finally, long story short, once we got it dialed in, we need more light. It's a darker color. So a lot of what we did research this time was a better way to light it. So this was a company I found called ChromaQ. They have people all over the States working. You can see their lights on the wall, but then I'll show the actual lights here. So they specialize in a process that I'd never heard of called light raking, which is you basically filter the light directly on top of the LED in a way that spreads the light evenly while pushing it into either a curve, a corner, or down a wall. So that's something I'm really interested in looking into the future, just to... it's tough to say, man, that could work, because I don't know until I get it in here. But what's special about it to me was you can push light in very, very far distances and you can be as close to the wall as 8 inches. So being 8 inches away from the wall for our setup would be awesome. And you see the RGB there, but we would choose, the bicolor because we don't necessarily need RGB. We're just trying to get it to the right exposure. So that was one. Right next to the booth, I saw just a cool little thing real quick, and then we can move on to the ICANN lighting, which, Andre, I want you to talk about more, because that also seems like a really cool option. Was this little DMX wireless control setup that I had never seen before, but instead of the antenna on the back of a light that already exists, if you don't have one, this is a DMX plug-in wireless antenna that goes into the back of the light, which I think is really cool. So that was just a thing that was next to it. And, you pass hundreds of things when you're walking around there, and it just caught my eye because it was right next to it. And then the guy gave me a hat that I gave to Morgan that said "Cables Suck," which I thought was a really good marketing scheme.
That's good.
So true.
But yeah, why don't you...
Live from Australia.
Yeah.
It's a really long cable out here.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Let me just hit these. I'll answer that. Let me hit a couple of things real quick. Ronnie was saying, hey, he's going to key using the 4K out of the broadcast G2 into an ATEM TV studio. So the ATEM does have a keyer built into it, and it is in fact a keyer you can use. And we have been paid lots of money to use an ATEM keyer before we got to the Ultimat. So I'm not going to down it. Like, we've gotten some results that we feel like, well, you know what, that's pretty good. It is not the same as the Ultimat. So it really just kind of depends on what you're doing, but probably you're not, it's just not the same level of quality.
Would you say you get more control?
Yeah, tons more control.
More options.
The spill, controlling the spill and everything. It's kind of just like a universal one dial kind of thing on the ATEM, and so you're going to get some weird coloring on the subject. I don't know, what it is you're going to be filming, but that's a thing to be aware of.
I would say too, if you're only outputting 1080p, if you don't need a 4K recording, you could get HD Ultimat. They have the 1080p Ultimat, and that would, obviously you're sampling less of an area, and we have no experience with the sentence I'm about to say, so I don't know that it's 100% true. But if the keying quality, the keying quality should be remaining, obviously you're losing resolution into there, but you should still be able to potentially get a higher quality key with a cheaper product than just the built-in ATEM keyer. So that could be a way you could do that. And instead of just using the ATEM one. The other thing too is, unless if you haven't bought everything yet, I guess that makes a difference. But also just try the ATEM TV studio, television studio key. See how it works for you. If it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah. All of our keys are Ultimat 4K. Yeah.
The other option is if you are using, I was trying to look up if the Studio Pro 4K, in theory, it's got scalers built into it. So you could actually get an Ultimat 4K, run your camera in 4K, 4K into the Ultimat, do all that side 4K, and then down res it as you go into the ATEM,
right?
To get the better key. because you just got more pixels to work.
Well, he
so
says
we do that
it's
a
the
lot ourselves.
ATEM Studio Pro 4K.
But output will be 1080. So yeah, if he's running in 1080, you should be able to downscale that.
Yeah.
But I've done that a lot myself. We've done everything in 4K into our constellation. Again, same thing. It's just down raising to HD, so that we get the better key, and then set it down to 1080 on the way out.
And then Justin, Xsymmetry is neat. I mean, again, for us, we feel like we've gotten a superior key out of the Ultimate than anything we've seen out of Xsymmetry. But Xsymmetry is a good second place for us. It's really great, and it has a lot of other functionality, and it could be, when you add all that together, a better overall thing. And you're right, actually, the 3/8 inch NAP is what we ended up using as a final coat. Not 3/4, wasn't that thick, but a 3/8 inch. That made a big difference on the final coat of the Ultimate. Okay, so over to ICANN lighting. We can show a picture there, but so here's some of the lighting that we saw. You can barely see it, but it's in the, well, there it is right there. You can barely see it. It takes up the entire frame.
Oh, there it is.
What's super awesome about this light is it is a single Ethernet cable. That Ethernet cable gives it PoE, so that's how it's powered, and that lets us, and it's fully DMX. So through that one cable, we're able to both control the light and power the light. So the elegance of that is super awesome. But in addition to that, it seemed like, you can see the switch there that's providing all of that. What's also nice though about that is the way it was doing just such a soft generalized spill. That was very nice for us, because one of the problems we have is, we light the talent first. So, well, hold on. Every single person who did chroma anything at NAB does it exactly different. Opposite, maybe even would be a word, than the way we do it. So we just do it differently than everybody else. So our philosophy is not generally light the area and make everything just fully illuminated. Instead, our approach is light the person as if they're in the space that you're putting them in, and then use that light. Some of that will spill on the background, and then supplement that background with lighting as needed. So the idea of having super zoned controls with really soft, even spill light that I can then just hook up via Ethernet seems exciting. So we're going to definitely be talking to ICANN soon and see what can happen out of that.
Was that pretty bright? Because I feel like PoE is not a lot. Because it's
They were
is it
50
PoE
watt.
plus or what?
Yeah,
They're 50 watt.
Yeah, wow.
50 watt, yeah.
That's not a lot of watts for.
Yeah, I know. We need to test it and see, but to my eyes, it looked about 3 times the brightness of what we currently
They
have.
do make a 90 watt, 90 watt one as well.
Oh yeah, PoE plus plus system.
Yeah,
It's also smaller, and it looks like it would be easier to mount.
yeah, very low profile.
Yeah.
You mean easier to mount than the kitchen lights we
That
purchased
are,
at Home
2x4s?
Depot that are
Yeah.
on 2x4s?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I don't understand.
And then obviously, like, anytime anything is like one cable, like if you don't have to do too much to it, it's just like maybe throwing another switch up in the place where we already have it. And especially if it's rack mountable, then we have a perfect spot for it.
Yeah.
And so it makes a ton of sense. There were some other lighting options that we looked into. We stopped by the Godox booth, and we looked at some other stuff. But I think that between these ICANNs and then the Chroma Q option to look
those
into
are
that
interesting
kind
for
of
lighting
thing.
the background.
And there's some others too that are some specifically designed lights. But the problem is when Andre and I look at them, it's like, yeah, that option's great. But like I said a minute ago, it's like, I gotta get them in here.
So speaking on
that out.
our quest for the perfect light, you may notice
Some people are wearing hats.
hold on, I'll just wear it like this and talk to you like this. So we did find one
What do
company.
you mean?
I don't know. What do you mean?
Who could you be talking about?
I don't know, Jay. Who are you talking about? Wow. We found this company, Kelvin, and their lights are just the industrial design, first of all, A+. Like everything about the way they designed this, the detail of the little things they thought through, unbelievable. But more importantly than that, their neuroticism, if that's a word, is equal or greater than mine, which I just have to appreciate. It's like, oh man, like that pattern of LEDs is very, very specifically created. Not only that, they handpick each of those LEDs to make sure they're right. Their CRI is 98. It's unbelievably color
awesome.
accurate.
Yeah.
And just every single part of this, I think there's maybe a few other pictures just kind of showing, Ooh, look at it taken apart. Yep. So keep going. It's a beautiful system. It's got just a really nice, that little notch that's just, let me do that. That's just right over here on that little notch. It has a little indicator so you can see exactly what angle you put it at, which is just like, come on, that's just nice. And the interface pack, the power pack, it's touchscreen and knob based, super intuitive controls, all wireless DMX. They have a 300 watt and a 600 watt version of these lights. They are beautiful, everything about them.
I ran into these people basically. I'd seen them on Instagram before, but I basically ran into their booth. Like, it wasn't, I didn't know they were even there, and I'd seen them on Instagram. And I remember talking to the guy. I said, "You don't like." Andre will love these. I'm like, I don't even need to know that they're good lights, actually. He'll just love them based off looks alone. But then you're telling me they're amazing lights, and now I love them even more. I think, Jay, you've got the graph right there. Here's the graph of how color accurate and luminant and all the things they are. Yeah. Awesome. But what got me even more so excited was when he walked over and he showed me this tiny light that they had. That I think we got a couple of pictures of up there. That's basically, it's USB-C and it has wireless DMX, and it's the same sort of multicolor light thing. It looked super cool. And it was basically it was super flat. It was tiny. It had these magnetic filter systems. I don't know if I have a picture
tightly made, really bright, wireless DMX built into it, a magnet on the back
so you can just stick
attach to anything. Super small form factor.
They told us that Greg Frazier, the cinematographer, had come by their booth and was like, "I'm buying 40 of these."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, they're amazing. They're also really high CRI. I don't think quite 98, but still in the 90s for sure. It was incredible. It was like, guys, you all are killing it. And I mean, just everything about it. This is if Apple made lights, is the feeling of just the quality of everything is just sky high.
Now look, Aperture's a great light. Obviously, somebody's going to be saying well, what about Aperture, right? So it's a great light. They've made a great choice. They're doing some good stuff for sure. The level of nuance and detail that I felt singing to me from this light, it was just like, this feels like what I want to have something made.
I think Aperture is made more so not for the things that we do. We're on a different scale than the lights that they produce for these kinds of things. I look at it as they're more so of not influencer gaming setups. I mean, there are also many people I know personally who use them and really love them, who are also ambassadors of them. They love them, but it's not for us.
I think you're thinking more of Amaranth.
Yeah,
the lighting. They're the lower key thing. Aperture, they're legit lights. They're
kind of
everywhere.
They're kind of the big dogs in this.
I don't have a great memory, and they both sound very similar.
They are the same company too, so it doesn't.
Well, actually, not anymore.
Oh right, yeah, you were telling us.
Yeah,
not anymore.
So they've actually separated.
Okay.
Well, kind of. So they've kind of looked at it and gone, well, we have. I think what was happening was they had the Amaranth brand and they had the Aperture brand, but there was kind of combining too much. Amaranth do some really great cheap stuff, cheaper stuff, and obviously Aperture for the higher end stuff. So they've kind of gone, we need to separate these so that we can focus on the pro team, make sure that they're looked after in the pro way that they need, and same for the consumer as well.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. I'm like, hang on, these guys look the same, but it does make sense in terms of making sure that they're looking after
different audiences.
Their audiences differently. So
Yep.
No, Aperture is amazing. Their booth was really cool. They did a live lighting setup, and they were demoing it, and it was really nice. So so that's Justin.
Yeah, I was just looking at the price difference between the Kelvins.
Yeah.
So it's definitely more expensive than the Apertures or equivalent.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
Yeah. I'd be keen to see them, that's for sure.
Yeah. They seem really nice. So we'll see what happens next. Now, why would we use these lights? So I think we would use these lights in a couple of ways. Right now, we're using Hive lighting system, and so we typically are doing a couple of things. We're either doing some sort of rim lighting, supplemental lighting on the wall, where it's just we're kind of spotting into it and just finding this area is a little dark. We just need to brighten it up a little bit.
Not for long, hopefully.
That was a quick answer. And then we're also using this to do like special effects. So for instance, if the person is sitting next to a fireplace, we've got it kind of flickering a reddish color to indicate, like, just to create a little spill of fire on their body. So those are kind of the main use cases.
Accent.
Yeah, some sort of accent light on it.
And speaking of accent, and speaking of like different levels of customers and people who use lighting, we met a guy named Alex Pierce. You guys had a meetup that you told us about, so we went over to the NAB, or not the NAB, the B&H booth, and he had these pixel lights. These are Quasar Science. Something cool about what he does is he films and sells different kinds of plates for different types of movies. And he can take a grid and select a portion of a video within inside of a plate, and these Quasar Science lights will mimic that square that he chooses. You can see them flickering over there. But it's not just Quasar Science. You can also use them with the Kino Flow LED panels. They'll focus, I promise. They're running. You can see down at the bottom right there. They have the same. They're running the exact same live effects thing that he was. And that was a really cool thing to learn about this time, because last time I sat through his entire presentation at the B&H booth. I had never met him, talked to him for a couple seconds. And then this year he recognized me, and when we all went over there and learned about it, it was really cool. But the lights itself may not be super practical for us, because we don't really do a lot of moving sets. Now, I'm not saying like we could rule them out if you're sitting in like a train station or something crazy that you have bunches of people moving through, or cars driving by, like that kind of stuff. But Isaac and I kind of had an aha moment at the booth, because Isaac and I realized that what he was doing could actually be used as like a better plate playback synchronization system. Isaac, do you want to talk about that? Because you were the one who really had the aha moment. I was just hanging out with you.
Well, so for us, a big problem with plates is that we have basically, let's call it 6 video files at most. It's really more like 3. And we need them to play back at the same time to be our different backgrounds. And so part of our problem with that is that it's really hard to synchronize that. There's really a lot of good software out there that'll synchronize across multiple computers and to kind of sync playback. Now, what he was saying was that this software could just play back all of those off the same one. My issue would be worrying about getting those videos out of the computer. Now on Windows we can probably do it, but on Mac OS we have Thunderbolt external chassis. You start getting limitations into how many 4K feeds you can do out of one deck link at that point. And then it was really interesting, Justin, you had mentioned I'm trying to remember, Kubrick. I noticed, I looked that up while you had talked about it. It looks like that's what was being used by Alex at that booth. In some of the shots there that looked like the same demo they were showing. So that was interesting. And he also mentioned that the Infinimats are going to apparently support this same sort of software, the Aperture Infinimats. That's really cool. But yeah, we're wondering if maybe this could be a tool we use to play back our plates that we have. And I have thought that, like, oh man, if there's cars driving by in a window, or some of our night scenes, something we've noticed is we've tried to do some kind of outdoors, dark at night scenes. It's kind of hard to anchor people into those because there isn't a strong light motivation. So could we have cars driving by be in that sort of lighting rig? Is that the solution to go with? And Z, you asked about time code for synchronized playback. I mean, I guess the issue is becoming, how do we send the command to the thing? It's really more.
Yeah, I think there's some ways to do that. I think the challenge is what we've found that we're doing a lot of is we're playing back through OBS. And the reason why we're playing back through OBS instead of a hyperdeck, obviously, if we had a hyperdeck, it'd be very simple to just queue these up on a hyperdeck and then play them back. What we found is we almost always are adjusting the sizing of the image. We're applying a Gaussian blur of some amount. So we're doing like some last minute tuning to just get it to feel right. It's kind of like, well, the science says that the camera was exactly this many distances, units away, and this high, and this distance of this angle.
Those are all imperial units, by the way.
I was saying,
what units?
I was saying units because we may have two conflicting. I don't know. I said the whole studio just needs to be on metric, but whatever the distance is. So what we found is, even though we do it exactly like that, sometimes when you just look at it, it's like, it just feels a little off. So it needs to be a little something different, and throwing that in OBS gives us so much control
And that's
we
the
just
other
don't
thing
have
that
a
Live Effects
playback.
was doing. That's a good. Thank you for mentioning that, because I was thinking, I'm like, I know there's a limitation,
there's a
and my
reason.
brain's just not connecting it. So that's the other thing that Live Effects seems to do, is having some of those blurs and scales and things integrated all together into one platform. Because we also don't want to play a background through a hyperdeck, run it through OBS, back out. Like, it just doesn't seem like a good system for us, and so that's kind of why we're looking into it. And maybe it's a terrible solution, right? Maybe it doesn't work at all, but it seems like something that could work for us, and something that would be really interesting.
One funny thought is we have 4 77-inch OLED screens, these huge screens. So I have thought, like, well, maybe we just need to play back the video on these massive TVs and just roll them in close and see what happens. So we're not doing a lot of reflections, but I do get the idea of some ambient color spills in just naturally.
Yeah, it's the right setting, and that was the conversation I had with him last year that we brought into this year. Was like, okay, I showed him our stuff and was like, I'd love to. First off, he's a really cool guy, and he does a lot. Like, but I swapped contact info with him because I was like, I'd love to just pick your brain and like just talk and see what kind of ideas that we could bounce off of each other, because he does playback for like Hollywood stuff. So, and he works with a group who goes around and films them all over the place. So he's done a lot. So I would like to put his brain to work just in a conversation setting of like, what could we do?
It's awesome.
What kind of different kind of sets could we come up with that would still be stagnant and talking head style, but also be a little bit more lively and interactive. So, yeah.
To move to a new topic, one of the things that really caught my eye is focus. And so as we are moving through the Blackmagic ecosystem, there's so much to love about the cameras, the quality of the image, the workflow, all of that's amazing. But what about focus? What do we do when this happens? How do we make this happen? So that's something that has been missing. And DJI, our friends at DJI, have released the thing. So this is a new focus system that they've already had this in a version that we already are using on the Ronin.
In fact, we're using it in this video.
Ah, nice.
So that's
This was a camera.
LiDAR,
which
off.
is super cool to know that you can literally point 2 of these at each other.
Right.
And it's fine.
Out. Yeah, fun. So this guy, though, is a big deal for us. Now, how do we do it today? So what we do today is we have somebody, after we get everybody kind of framed up. Now, remember, we're not doing like these huge camera moves. We're usually kind of getting people into position like this, and they're moving around within this setup, right? But sometimes they're leaning forward or leaning back or something like that. And I love to shoot a rather shallow depth of field. In fact, most of the time we're shooting around f2. So how do we handle that? Well, what we're doing right now is we're pressing on the LCD, like this is where their face is, and then we're using the middle things button to kind of hit autofocus whenever we need to, and then kind of cutting around if they suddenly leaned way forward like this, right? And then we're just kind of like pushing that focus, and then we're moving back and pushing that focus. So what we want is what I just showed. This is not the DJI. This is the Fujifilm that I'm shooting these on. But that's what we're wanting and needing. And so this guy is $1,000. It's the LiDAR on the top, and then it's the hand unit on the side, of course, the focus motor.
It does so good at focusing on faces, by the way, if you cannot tell.
Yeah.
Is it the same LiDAR unit as the previous one?
The same one. And in fact, if you can buy just the handle for about $300. So if you already own an RS3 Pro and you already have the focus stuff except for the grip, you can buy the grip for like $400, and now you can just make it a completely handheld or tripod mounted rig. And so that's super awesome. However, these are new focus motors and a slightly updated LiDAR box. 2 cool things are the focus motors will now do a fizz, so you can do focus, iris, and zoom on them. And they have a separate remote that you can buy that does those wirelessly. And the other thing is the focus wheel on this and on all of them, it has force feedback, which is what Jay is feeling in this moment.
Magical.
It's crazy. It is as close to as they could translate the feeling of you moving the lens yourself into that wheel. You can see
like
him,
a manual follow focus. Like it feels like that.
Yep, exactly. So our big thing that we brought up with DJI is like, this thing is incredible. Like, we want to make that so clear.
Yeah.
It's like, however, There are like 3 things that if it did, we would have already bought 8 of these immediately, which is number 1, if it could magically feed this data into Unreal Engine, because then we'd be getting autofocus, iris, and zoom control all out of the same sensors that are, those same sensors could read back. Right now, we'd have to double up on sensors. Number 2 would be if it could have one unit that controlled multiple cameras, because we have 8 cameras, right? So if we had the ability to have one, then it's like, oh, it's on camera 1, now it's on camera 2, now it's on camera 3, that'd be great. And similarly, if that unit was kind of compatible with sort of a screen of some sort that had the UI on it. Right now, you have to be physically next to the camera, or you have to buy the DJI transmission and handles, and you're spending an extra $3,000. And on top of that, right now, it only works as far as we're aware with 1 camera at a time. So it's really built for cinema use cases, not these kind of studio use cases, but I think it's super duper strong for these studio use cases. And so we're really hoping to get to talk to them and be like, hey guys, like this could be incredible.
Yeah, and DJI was super responsive. Like they brought over some of their media relations people. We kind of told them what we're up to. They're super like, yeah, let's talk more. Let's figure out what we can do. And so this isn't actually released yet. It's announced. I don't know when it's actually available.
I think you can order it. It's just so back ordered that you can't. Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it said pre-ordered.
Hey, if you want to know how magic it is, Morgan, if you'll pull up. So I'm gonna hit play. This is the moment I felt the what'd you call it?
The force feedback.
Force feedback. So just watch my face right here. He like tells me where to feel it. And look, I'm like, what?
It's literally I was so happy I got to capture that.
Yeah, it was awesome. It does a lot of things too with being able to. The LiDAR will read 5 to 6 faces at once, and then you get to scroll through, pick which face you want to track, and then it tracks it so well.
So the workflow for us would just be once we've got the cameras positioned, then somebody's going and touching on that little screen like here's who we're focusing on. What we don't know is how we're going to handle teleprompter and a couple of things like that. But overall, this is a very, very exciting solution, and to us, a big missing link that we've been having. Hey, Pike Products, just want to say thanks for the shout out. We love you too. And it's been so awesome. I think for all of us, this is this intangible thing. The energy we felt going to NAB and the love that everybody had for us was really cool. I mean, it's not like we're all that, okay? Like we're not confused about what we are and are not, but there was a lot of people that, I mean, a lot maybe is like 30, but like people came up to us and talked to us and asked for a picture and told us how much we've helped their studio. That was a cool feeling for me, and I think it was for everyone else as well. So if any of you were watching this that did that, thanks. It meant a lot to us as well, just knowing, because, you can sit here and kind of do this and live in your own vacuum and not really know, like, does anyone care about all this stuff? We've been talking for over an hour. Is this interesting to somebody? I don't know. And so we're just trying to do, we're just trying to share what we want shared from other people as well. So
yeah, there were a couple of really big moments like that. Like, I mean, I had somebody waiting when I was talking to somebody, I thought somebody was waiting for the person I was talking to because they seemed really important. And then they were actually waiting on me. And I was like, that's the weirdest feeling ever. I don't even know if I like it. Obviously I do. I'm just kidding. And then one time Andre and I were sitting down talking to some people about, some tracking stuff. And we were talking to one guy who seemed halfway interested, and then in the middle of it, this guy comes over. He's like, "Oh my gosh!" He sees Andre sitting down. He's like, "I'm a huge fan." He's like, "I use your video to teach a college course about virtual production, or maybe it was keying specifically."
Yeah.
But it's the Ultimate video. If you haven't watched it and you have an Ultimate, you want to learn more, you should definitely go check it out. But he freaked out, and then he said, before Andre sat down and for us to keep talking to the guy, he said, "I have to get a picture with you before we leave."
Funny.
And we were just like, wow, that's hilarious. Mm-hmm. Just like, and it was almost, we hadn't been at NAB, but for maybe 30 minutes at that point. So
yeah,
that was really crazy. Really fun moment.
So just a couple other things that we saw just to kind of rapid fire. One was ProPsych. ProPsych is a vendor that makes both psych wall components and also has paint. Is this the paint you use, Ryan? Is this are you using ProPsych or
no, Roscoe?
Roscoe, okay.
Yeah.
So it's in my mind it was that kind of green color. We've never shot with this, but we're very familiar with them. There's another ICANN light in that one as well.
Yep.
They
were lighting up this entire thing with ICANN, but it was all the AC power version.
Also, they had the same set that we've had in Unreal Engine,
that's
which was
hilarious.
really funny.
Yeah, we're like, we've seen that before and had to optimize it. So I would say I had my first experience with them was not as awesome. I kind of went and talked to one of the guys, and he was kind of like, everything I was asking him, it was as if I was like, "Hi, I'm from Mars," and everything I'm about to say makes no sense to you. That's kind of what the conversation felt like. Just everything, our approach to lighting and framing and just everything was very different than theirs. And humbly, we were getting a vastly superior key to what they were getting. Later, we went and talked to the president, and he was amazing. He was super generous with his time. Sean, he lives fairly close. We're in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and he's in Franklin, Tennessee. He was very, you could tell he really wants excellence as well. And, we made our psych wall ourselves. Like, we don't know what we're doing. We just went ahead and did it. He's actually has calculations and math involved in his version of it. And so that was super cool. He was very interested in the Chromalight paint, and like hearing our response. And, we just candidly said, like, look, these are the results we're getting. And here's what it looks like. We've never shot with ProPsych, so I've never shot with any other paint, actually. We somehow became a beta tester as we went in to Chroma Key, and so all I can tell you is this is the result. We're using Blackmagic cameras, some kitchen lights from Home Depot, and Chroma light paint, and then, of course, some real lights for everything else, just lighting the background. And we've gotten a pretty compelling result out of it. Anyway, he's super generous with his time. He's very interested in talking more with us, and there may be an opportunity. We just actually are consulting on a project down in Florida for a large organization, and they're putting in a ProPsych psych wall. And so we'll see where that goes. But I was impressed with his willingness to be vulnerable, and approachable. I really liked a lot of Sean and just his humility. Justin, John, great down to earth person. That's exactly how we felt about him. So just world-class guy. So it was really cool to meet him. And it was cool to be able to talk, even though it's like, hey, we're using a different thing than yours, without it feeling all weird and confrontational. It just felt very like, cool, let's have a conversation and just talk about what it is we're doing.
Yeah, he was a great guy. I mean, I showed, I went and got you after talking with him because he was so interested, because I showed him the video once and he was like, oh, okay, yeah, I see. And it's funny because last year, Morgan, that was the very first person we actually talked to at NAB. And he introduced us to Ron from Blackmagic with the Ultimate in person. So it was really cool to make the connection this time and have him be so interested. And immediately I was like, I'll be right back. I have to go get Andre. And in that, Isaac also came with us. And then Isaac and one of his sons ended up going to the same college.
And, yeah, that's cool.
And then I know we have mutual friends because I grew up not far from
Jay knows everybody.
Yeah, that's the short. But man, it was great to make that connection again, because in the future, when we do move into a bigger building and we do build another psych wall, maybe we'll think about some other options.
Yeah, it seems obvious we would use something like that.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, hey, focus. Tell me about Vive Mars. So someone was asking earlier about Vive Mars. They definitely had some updates.
Sure, they've got a couple new things in the pipeline. They've unlocked the motor in the Fizz encoder that they sell now. So that's now able to be paired with a handheld controller. So that's really cool. We're hoping to kind of get our hands on that here soon and work on that and see how that integrates in Unreal. They have a new kind of debug tool that's coming that lets you see what the base stations are doing and kind of what your tracker is seeing, and seeing what your overall coverage looks like, which will be really helpful for us because we've had some tracking issues, mainly with reflectivity of the televisions that we have, like the giant TVs in there. And they've added it's coming. They showed it there at the show, the web server. So now the Vive Mars control units, which we have in our control room here, can be accessed via a web page.
Morgan and I had a
That'd be
good
really helpful.
Yeah, Morgan and I had a really good idea about that because that's taken up about 4 rack units of these little racks. Actually, if you cut the behind the scenes camera, they probably can see them. The walnut wood racks up there, those are kind of taking up that little spot right there. With those, hey, that's a huge circle, but yes. But what's cool about that is it would, our thought is we could get those somewhere else now, like into the studio, wherever, if we can manage them from the web and replace. Oh, Cammie's doing a great job making a box around the box. And it would allow us to replace that. What we kind of thought, Morgan and I, is like, oh, wait a minute, we could do the
Nice.
we could do the conversion boxes for to IP if we were moving to IP. Those boxes to convert the TVs to IP could live up there. So then all these TVs could be on IP, but then being converted not in our racks, which are very full of a lot of different things, but be converted kind of right below where all the TVs are. So if there's ever an issue, it's a lot easier to diagnose. So that was an idea we had this morning. And also, Vibe Mars was super lovely, and they took us, along with a bunch of other Vibe Mars users, out to dinner at the Tiki Lounge in Vegas. I don't know what the actual name of this place was, but it was quite the vibe. It was very
so funny because we're just a bunch of tech geeks and nerds now in this bar.
Yeah.
That was fun.
With fine art. And it was
It's French.
it was so loud and it was hilarious
Demonetized.
because we all wanted to like have conversations about very technological things. And so we're all sitting there yelling, about like, yeah, so it's Vibe Mars with the system and the Unreal. You can't hear anything at all. But it was really good. We're very, very thankful for Vibe Mars. It was a fantastic time, and we did actually get to collaborate with quite a few people, talk with them there, and figure some stuff out.
What's so cool about Vibe Mars is they've been such good friends.
Yes.
They've just been so awesome of being supportive of us, trying to figure out how to include us. It's like everything you kind of want in a company as far as like the relationship part of it. They've just been like, Morgan, you've given them tons of feedback. They've incorporated a lot of
listen.
that. Yeah, they've been great listeners. They're great supporters. I think we got a hug every time we went by. And so they're just a great team, and they're really trying to do a cool thing with it. So
literally a hug every single time that I went over. In fact, here you go.
Oh yeah, look at that. There's a hug.
Tim
Tim's
and
great.
Yoni and
Yeah.
everybody at Vibe Mars. Every time I see them, the vibes are super high, and
the vibes?
the vibes. Oh, the vibes. Thanks, Isaac.
vibes.
No problem.
Isaac's full of bars. Yes, but for real, every time I see them, it is like, and that's the second time I've met them in person, and I feel like I've known them for like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, it's cool.
So I really like seeing them. They're awesome.
Just to rapid fire a couple of quick things. We went to the prompter people. That's who we use for our teleprompters. We have 3 of those. And so there you can kind of see some of their setup. I really love and found out that we can do this. We can add in the little bar to kind of hook that TV on the front that says Athena Prime, that little guy right there. So that's going to be something we're going to get. They were also incredibly supportive. Like, I told them, like, hey, I feel like I'm having to adjust about 200 Kelvin on this. And they're like, yeah, you really shouldn't have to. Maybe let's send you a new unit and see if it's, just your glass has gotten messed up or whatever. They were all the way ready to like, what can we do to support you well and help you? So big shout out to them. They were very cool to talk to. We'll definitely be looking at some of their new prompter tech. That was super awesome. Our friends at Exebo, we use 2 Exebo sliders. And then Ryan, you've got an Exebo slider as well.
I do, yes.
So there we are, trying to solve the world's problems. But they've been working for a long time now, trying to build this new jib. And I don't know that we have. Do we have a picture of this thing?
I don't
even
think
know.
any of us ever have a full picture of it. No.
There you go. It's that thing over. It's this thing right over here on this side is what that is. But anyway, it's a robotic jib. They're trying to come in, it sounds like around $12,000 US, and it is a full robotic arm that they've been, I think you guys can help me say what all it does, but I think does it telescope in and out?
Yes.
So it telescopes in and out, full jib movement, and then full camera control of PT, you know, pan and tilt and all of that. So they feel like, I know their website says shipping in October 2023. Sounds like that's going to be 2024. Man, I'll tell you, they seem tired. Like when we went there, it was just like you could feel they're just like, we are still working on this. And so I gave him a hug and I'm like, dude, you're doing it. Like you're making a jib. It's really a robot arm that he's making for, I don't know what robots are going for these days, but probably starting prices around $50,000. And so he's making one for around 12. They've been obsessed with like, is any vibration coming through, you know, and how can we solve that? How can we make it really smooth so it can ease in and out and control all these different, and then how can we make sure it's very accurate in making that same move over and over? Of course, all of that's going to be transmitted into Unreal Engine. So we're super pumped about this. They've been an incredible team to work with. If you're a fan of Xebo, I would encourage you just to reach out and tell them that they're doing a good job, because I could tell it's just, they've been just like obsessing about every tiny little detail of the motor and whatever, and they just need some pump. So
just saying, if you're looking to buy an Xebo, definitely make sure you get the high-speed motor.
Okay.
Yes.
Because mine came with the high torque motor, which I believe yours are as well.
Yes. Yes.
And you often run them at 100%, and they're just not quite fast enough.
And it makes a weird vibration. And we talked to them about that.
Yeah.
And we were like, hey, this thing's making this weird vibrations, you know, whatever. And he's like, which motor is that? Oh, yeah, you need the high speed. And he was super cool. He was like, yeah, we'll help you guys out and get that over. The other thing they did for us is the studio camera's bigger, and they machined, I wish we had a picture of it. They machined this amazing L bracket that is incredible. It even has like a place for the Allen wrench kind of like embedded in it. It's like,
it's
come
awesome.
on, guys. Like they killed it. Like and they sent them to us for us, and they're just incredible. So they're a great team. Super pumped about them. They're small. They're cranking, working really hard. And I think from what we've seen of our current arm and everything, our current sliders, we have 2 of them. They're amazing, and they've just been really well built. So this is going to be an incredible price point. And if you're interested in this, who knows? We'll see when it ships, but it sounds like it's in the fall. He was feeling pretty confident about that they're just working through supply chain issues of like, how do we get the right parts at the best price, etc. Okay. What else do we have up there? What's that?
Oh, yes. This is Jake. I forget his last name, Morgan. You'll know better than I.
Water.
Jake Water, yes.
Jake Water.
He has a custom Stream Deck thing. Well, first of all, Corsair for Business was there. There were 2 different kind of Elgato Corsair areas. This one in the South Hall had the guys who knew about Companion, which, as you all know, I love, and we love at the studio. And so we got a really good time talking with them. One quick thing that I think is super cool that Corsair is going to be doing soon, they're going to be selling just the modules of Stream Decks. So with none of the molding, basically, it's just the buttons and the screen and the USB port on the back. Ooh. So you can do your own custom enclosure for them. They told that to me. I told them we need a Stream Deck Plus XL, and also showed them there's a company called Densitron who they're making it kind of was like, I don't have a picture in here, but it kind of was like a big Stream Deck that was power over Ethernet. The way they did that is it was just a whole computer in there, and I got told that was about $950. And I talked to the Corsair guys, and they're like, you know, we don't know what the business use case necessarily is for a Stream Deck that's like this. We got to talk to people. And I showed them like, well, here's somebody selling it for $950. So hopefully that can get them along the way towards convincing Corsair there's a business use case, because we'd love some PoE Stream Decks. But there we got to talk with Jake Waters, as you mentioned, Morgan, and he was showing you this.
Yeah. So if we can cut over to that photo here. So he's doing a custom. He's not going through BitFocus or the Elgato Stream Deck software. He's hard coding this, essentially using the Elgato SDK. And this is all talking to Unreal Engine. So you can kind of see he's got the slate there, and he's got it all tied together where he can hit record and it trigger a HyperDeck to start recording, to record the background, and trigger Unreal to do a record. I don't know if we have a different photo.
Yeah, there's one where it's kind of hooked up with his laptop.
Yeah,
here.
So you can kind of see there, but you kind of saw the buttons across the top, and that can go into different things. But he has it controlling the camera in Unreal Engine using the Live Link module, And what's different about this is like even with Exebo and a few others like Xsymmetry and Zero Density, you've got to have some sort of plugin with Unreal Engine. His plugin or his Stream Deck is talking natively to Unreal.
Yeah.
There's no plugin. There's no weirdness. It just works right out of the box. It's discoverable on the network, so you don't have to like find the IP address or any of that. And it's got huge potential. And he wants to add even more like the Ultimate controls into it, Hyperdeck controls, things like that. What I thought was cool was he has on the touchscreen on the front of the Stream Deck Plus, you can swipe up and swipe down to get through the different menus. BitFocus currently does not support that at all. So by doing his own programming, he was able to add all that in. But
he's awesome.
He's made it super user friendly. And he's hoping to keep adding on to it. We talked to Elgato. They're really interested in ways to maybe help promote it and get it in the community. But the live link, being able to do that without a plugin, is where the magic is at on it. The Vibe Mars system is very similar in the way that it works.
Oh, there's Jake in the comments. What's up, Jake? Yeah, you are awesome.
Yeah.
So, it was fun. I got to meet Jake randomly. Studio he was helping out in Vancouver reached out on our Instagram, I think, and they're in Vancouver, Canada, and they were saying something, and it's like, actually, I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm actually going to be in Vancouver like tomorrow or whatever. It was like, what? And so I went on a vacation and was up there. And so I was able to like stop by their studio, and then that's where I was able to meet Jake, and he's world class. So Jake, you're awesome. Thanks for the way you're helping the community and the way you're thinking about and approaching and solving some of these things, I think are super cool. And so what we're hoping to do is have Jake down here, kind of like we have Ryan over here. And
what do you mean?
Or do we?
or do we? Man, he looks like he's here though. Look at that back shot. Oh man, look, are there shadows on the table?
That?
Oh man, it's so sort of. Oh yeah, there's a shadow. Yeah, that works. So that looks great. Hey, and then let's see. So we definitely just met some fun friends. I'm seeing that kind of at the top there. You can kind of click through maybe some of those real quick. But
this one was huge for me. It was the first morning, and I saw him walking by. Hayden Hillier-Smith, who's a YouTube legendary editor, edited videos for Mr. Beast, Logan Paul, you name some of the biggest names in YouTube he's worked with. And he also has my favorite podcast ever called The Editing Podcast. And if you are an editor of any kind and you're looking to up your game of knowledge of maybe some specific software type stuff, but really from like a storytelling perspective, and it's a lot less granular, and it's more about how to tell stories and how to make a point and all kinds of stuff. What's funny is I was like, hey man, you should come check out the booth. He's like, hey man, I really wanted to, but funny enough, I had lunch with Candy.
Yeah, so about this, from my perspective, I have no idea who this guy is. I actually ended up going with some of my people who I was fangirling over, William Baker and Tyler Darlin, who you might know off of Instagram. And we were like, oh, let's go to lunch. And I'm like, sure. So I ended up going to lunch with them, and I start talking to Hayden, and I'm like, so what do you do? You know, why are you here? Great. Oh, wow, that's really cool that you edit videos. Oh, wait a second. And then it clicked, and I was like,
my friend's been fanboying over you.
I was like, did you meet Jay? Did you meet Jay? And he was like, I actually did. I'm like, oh, that's really funny, because he would kind of cry right now if he knew I was eating lunch. And so this was his idea. He's like, you know what? Let's take a photo together, and I'll send it to him. I'm like, oh no. Okay. So he did. And but yeah, it was a really fun experience.
One last really cool part to this whole story about him is he just texted me like 10 minutes ago, by the way.
Nice.
Was saying, I'm sorry we couldn't connect. I love making friends in the industry. So that's a really high note for me right now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We met a legend, an absolute legend.
Oh, this guy.
Whoa.
Unbelievable.
I don't know who that is. He just came up and was like, can I have a photo?
He's kind of stalking us right now.
I don't know if you've gotten this before, but a friend asked me, did you meet Chris Pratt? And I was like, what?
Way more attractive.
I don't know.
Pratt,
so
yeah.
anyway, I don't know. Yeah.
And
yeah,
then we met a longtime viewer and a guy who has reached out a ton.
Yeah.
Loxley.
Yeah.
Who was like ultra complimentary of everything that we've done. Huge debrief fan. So if he's not watching now, he's going to be watching later. What a spirit. Just talking to the guy, I felt like I could go conquer the world. So it was really fun to meet him. He's a huge fan. Him and Andre did get to meet. They got a picture as well. This one only made it into the deck. But man, he super, super awesome guy. And then we have one more picture in this deck.
Yeah, and we got to like talk through a bunch of, actually met a few different guys. He has a studio very similar to ours, and so we were sharing a lot of like, hey, here's our studio stuff, here's your studio stuff, and kind of just comparing notes, sharing all kinds of things. And it's just, you know, it was so great to hear from him of like, oh man, so helpful to hear kind of what your studio is doing, and these super long debrief videos like this one where we're just kind of sharing all the things. He definitely indicated that was so helpful to him. So yeah, it was great. We met so many different people. Those are just some of the ones we took pictures of. There's actually even more, but it was great to meet everybody, have a chance to talk to them. It was super cool, for sure. Listen, this has gone long, so let me just kind of do two other quick things I'm seeing here. I don't know what that middle thing is on Pro Presenter right there, but I see Casey Neistat down below that.
Yeah, so the one that I really want to hit.
Yeah.
I just have to say thank you to Rode.
Oh right,
because I stopped by the Rode booth.
Oh, look at your microphone. You got the Rode arm with the little Rode word right there.
So is it? Oh my gosh. Hey, we like you
Thanks,
guys.
Rode.
Anyways, I'll do this for the rest of this part.
Nice.
So I stopped by.
Australian company, by the way.
Met a super cool Aussie girl. We became friends pretty quick. We were just talking about our love for sports, and I was telling her about a podcast that I have, and I had a bunch of stuff in my hands, and I was like kind of fumbling around. She was like, "Do you want a bag?" And I was like, "Sure." She was like, "It's an extra goodie bag," and she kind of like handed it over to me, and I was like, "Oh, cool." And I like felt a little weight in it. But so I started putting my hats and all my stuff in there, and I was like, thanks. We kept chatting, and I left. I went around the corner, and I opened up this. So she gave me the Rode Wireless Pro mic, and I probably teared up a little bit after because I was super grateful.
To get that for the studio.
Nice,
being on studio time. so great.
Yeah, man. But
that's what he was crying about.
Dang it.
I know it's going to get taken from me. I went back and I found them.
Nice.
And this is just a short video of me telling them how thankful I was.
That's awesome, man.
That was a huge moment for me, and I felt like, you know, I went there within mind, like I want to come back with something. And in the first day, I got something I never even thought I would come close to getting. So ended up exchanging info for them.
That's what makes you world class, though, dude, that you took the time to go do that.
Yep, I had to make sure. I actually went back 3 times.
Awesome.
I never got to say thank you to her because she never ended up being there. But her colleagues that both were high up at Rode were
hopefully she didn't get
awesome.
fired for doing that. But
yeah, everybody was like, are you sure she meant to do that? Okay, and then the next thing that we put on here was Cammie and I went to see Casey Neistat speak. Was awesome. He's actually my hero. Like, I've been watching him since him and his brother Van had a show on HBO, and then when he moved over to YouTube, I sort of knew where he was, but then obviously he blew up, and Van, his brother, is also one of my favorite YouTubers. It was a really cool speech. We don't have any footage in here, but what was really, really cool for Cammie and I was at the end, they said, does anybody have any questions? And I stood up immediately, left 0 chances for them to pick anybody else. And I stood up, and they gave me a microphone, and I got to ask him a question.
That's awesome.
And my question was basically, why is it important to be nice to people? Because he blew up so fast and is so good at collaborating. And he had a really great answer. And my favorite part of the answer was like, being nice is important. But the main part that really hit me was like, don't be too nice, though. It's like you definitely have to be nice to people, but being too nice can be a problem. And then I was done, and they were like, all right, one more question.
And then Casey like cut like the girl off. I don't remember her name.
Can we get a girl?
Yeah, and he goes, actually, are there any young girls who have a question? And I'm sitting right next to Jay, and I went,
you're like, me.
That's me. And so he was like right there, right next to the guy we just talked to.
Yeah, he said, let's go to the girl directly next to the guy we just talked to.
Yeah.
So Cammie got to ask a question too, man.
Yeah, it was really cool because I had actually been watching him since I was 13 or younger than that. I don't even know. So it was really cool because I used to watch him when he went around and did like reviews for hotels, but also like photography and like the video. Like he was doing all kinds of stuff. And I went into it not really having a question, to be honest.
You're like,
I was just like, I need to talk to this guy. And so I was just kind of like, the way I went into the question I found was like, you know, I'm really young and I work at a film production studio, but being young and being so heavily immersed in social media, Instagram, YouTube, all of that, how do you like...
Yeah, but he cut you off.
Yeah, he did.
You were doing that exact thing, and he said, I'm going to cut you off because I understand your question. And basically, what he told you was like, just keep going because there's so many things to watch and do and so many different ways to feel like you're failing.
Yeah.
But his overall message to you was like, here in about 5 years, you're going to laugh about your mentality.
Well, he also, one thing he said, he's like, keep going, never stop trying, because even if you make it in 6 months or 10 years, you're going to make it one way or another. He also said something like, you know, you could put out 100 videos on YouTube and 99 of them could fail. That doesn't make you a failure, because if one of them wins, you win. You know, like you will have wins, you'll have up and downs, but you keep pushing, you keep going, because you'll never know what you're capable of.
Super cool. That was really, really awesome.
I'm going to jump in real quick and just say, hey, Chintan, thanks for watching this video. Chintan works with Adorama, and let me just tell you, over the past, I don't know how many years we've been doing this now, Adorama has been such an advocate for us as well. It's been so cool to work with you guys, and I'm just so thankful for the relationship we have with you guys. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here that you guys have helped us get. So really, really thankful for you specifically, Chintan, and the whole team at Adorama. A+, big thumbs up. Listen, we've gone a long time. I think what I'd like to do is hit a highlight reel for each person, just kind of saying like what it is, you know, kind of tell me top whatever things that kind of really stood out to you. And I'll go first, give you a little time to imagine what you're going to say. For me, I think the energy that existed around having our team go as a team. Not everybody went, only 5 of us from the team went. The other 3 had different obligations or were out of the country or whatever. So we didn't have a way to get everybody there, but we got 5 of us there. And I feel like as a team, it was super beneficial just for us to have this shared experience. So if you're thinking about, I don't know if it has to be NAB, but it reminded me how important it is to get away and just have fun together. And so maybe you can kind of click through some photos while I'm doing this of some of the cool stuff we got to do. But we definitely had fun while we were doing this. We rode the Tesla tunnels. We, you know, this is Jay made sure we stayed at Resorts World, so you can just hop in the Tesla and ride it over into the convention center. So that was a super great hack to know for next year if you're looking at places to stay. We had a ton of fun. We got to have dinner with our friend Jody from Tennessee Valley Authority, who heads up their video production for them. While he was there, of course, he lives in the same city as us, but we got to go there.
Some eggs.
Yeah, we got some great pictures of Jay just in general. We got to see some fun shows, and Cami even gave me hair at some point.
Absolutely.
So we had a good time with that. And so all those shared experiences of doing some of those different things, got to see Magicians and Blue Man Group, and just had a blast with some of those different parts. But I think that it's not so much about which show, it's just more about like a chance for us all to step away from the day-to-day and have some real quality entertainment of just hanging out with each other and building some relationships. So that was super important to me. I think being able to quickly touch every single thing that I'm interested in, actually look at it with my hands, feel it, see the size of it, understand how this would work in relation to what we're doing. That was a big win for me as well. I felt really good about being able to do that. And then, of course, just the other relationships, I felt like everybody, there you go. There's a real, that's a quality photo right there. So the relationships we were able to make, or the physicalness of being able to actually see people that we already have a relationship with, but we've never met in person, that was also super huge. So for me, those were some big highlights. Of course, there was some cool tech and gear that was there, and I see a lot of people kind of focusing on that part of it, of course, because that's kind of like a key aspect of it. But I just feel like there's rare opportunities in life where you can have all the people that care about the thing you care about all in the same place at the same time. So for me, that was kind of like the super effect of this. Next year, I'm certainly going to be thinking about how do we better organize connecting. That's the hardest part, is just how do you find time to be together. So those were some things I found. What were some other takeaways from everybody else?
I'll jump in real quick on mine. Kind of the jump on that is like meeting all the people. So like I got to see Federico, which I've been to his studio in Milan.
Yeah.
All the Vibe Mars team, and then getting to meet Jake and just all of that. And I think Jody, when we were hanging out with him, mentioned like being surrounded by people that are fellow creators, whether it's on the creative side, making the images, or on the technical side, like I am more now, just recharges your internal energy, to seek out and try all these different ways. So that was my big takeaway from this.
Yeah, it's great. Who else?
I can go. So making the connections, seeing the sites, doing all the things is really cool. But I think my favorite part was to watch like Morgan is talking to the developers, and they're like writing him code. Maybe I shouldn't have even said that.
Developers of some company.
Yes, from somebody.
Yeah.
Watching Isaac just flourish. Like, Isaac was talking to people in the airport before we even got on the plane about NAB and was showing our reel. Watching Cammie network, learn a ton. She thought I was mad because she was at lunch with Hayden, but like I texted her back. I was like, no, that's just so dope to see you out here connecting, making connections. I'm just glad somebody from the studio got to talk to him. Andre, getting to see you meet Grant, and then watching I think I'm a networker, but like you're extremely skilled as well at that. Ryan, you're just plain attractive, and getting to hang out with you is really fun.
Love it.
But I think getting to see the team that I work with all the time flourish in multiple ways and do some really cool stuff. That was my favorite part.
Love that.
I think I was surprised personally just how accessible everybody is at these conferences. I think it's really easy to associate a lot of these companies with people who are very closed off and people who are not like willing to share their experiences with other people. I've encountered online a lot of times, like trying to solve some problem or a thing. A lot of people are like, well, why are you doing any of this way? Because we do things a different way. But when you get to be with people in real life and show them not only your results, but also talk through it with them, then they can start to be like, oh, okay, I see the way that you're doing it and why you all do it this way. And so it was cool to see that and get to see like, man, I got to talk to so many people who were like incredibly high up at companies and incredibly a part of like everything, and being like, oh, cool, I'm receiving respect, even though I'm also super young. I don't know everything that I'm talking about yet. I'm still learning. But like I have enough knowledge to work and think through things and help solve problems. I remembered a couple interactions where I'm like, oh man, yeah, we should do it this way. And someone who like I definitely respect a lot. I was like, oh yeah, it's a great way to do it. I'm like, this is weird. Like I just had a good idea in front of it's like, this is cool to be able to like actually demonstrate all that and like feel it with other people is nice. Cause it's one thing when it's here amongst all of you all who I've obviously have a lot of respect for, but know very well enough where it's like we all know each other at this point. It's another thing to have a good idea in front of someone you don't know. It feels like, oh yeah, cool, I can do this all the time.
I do have one more point to make. The one thing I missed out on is validation. I think we lack validation here. It is nice when you have clients come to the studio and just praise you until they leave,
Sure.
But it's just one more thing when like other people in the industry are like, you guys have helped me learn. You guys do awesome stuff. I watch your debrief videos. I've learned this from you guys. And like that validation of knowing that we're we're being the rising tide that lifts all boats. I think that's extremely encouraging to know that like as we push more like further and further into the work that we do, it's the feelings being reciprocated and people are gaining from us. I think that's just such a cool part as well. I had to say that.
Love that. Cammie, what about you?
I think what I would say is that I went into this trip really excited for the opportunities. I also went into this trip not really knowing what I would get out of it. I was just excited to be there and get everything I could out of it. There's a lot to unpack about that because not only did I meet people I've always wanted to meet and get to connect with my team and build better relationships with them and feel like a tighter group, it was really encouraging for me personally and challenging because I'm really young and I am also a girl, and this is a very male-dominated career path. And that's not saying girls can't be successful in this, because there are very many successful women in this career. But it's very eye-opening to be like, people don't think I know anything, which I also didn't think I knew anything until I went. And then I realized, hey, I'm actually a lot smarter than I thought I was.
That's great. Yeah.
But it was just very encouraging to be like, yeah, you can do this. Like, you got this. It's like, I have more determination, and it's because it's more challenging, and I have more encouragement from my team and the other people I met that it is like, yeah, everybody's got this. You can do it. So I think not only did I learn about a lot of the tech too and realize that's really cool. I didn't know that was a thing. It was really good for me to grow as a person.
That's great. Yeah. I was really proud of how, Cami, you jumped in on a lot of things that were happening, conversations that were happening. So it was super cool to watch you jump in on all of this. And then now, I don't know how to tell you this, Ryan, but Nils says my takeaway from this is that Ryan isn't real. So my favorite AI avatar.
Dude, the only way to prove it is
the
only way to do it is to prove it is to smack Andre across the face.
That's the only. If only you could. So close. Oh, look! It looks so much like you're right here.
So close,
so
so
good.
far.
Yeah, yeah. What was your takeaway, sir?
So it's interesting. So I enjoyed the show. I always love going. It is a great time. It's interesting that I had a different experience to you because you kind of went away from this going, this is awesome.
Yeah.
But for me, I think the difference was I wasn't going into it with a shopping list. I wasn't looking to buy anything. I mean, I was kind of going, if something blows my mind and I need this today,
sure,
I will order it. But nothing blew my mind. So to me, this year, it was an evolutionary, but not a revolutionary year. So there's a lot of stuff that went to the next level, and some things were great, but wasn't incredible. So if you are thinking of going to NAB and you have your own project, an install you're doing that you want to try stuff and you want to talk to the people, go. It is the best thing to do. Meet the people, get the experience, and do all that kind of stuff. But if you're going into it, well, I mean, next year there could be a revolutionary year where you may see the new thing. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, because I was walking around with my camera going, I want to film something. Wow. I want to film something that's like the next cool thing. I didn't film anything. Like there's nothing there that really blew my mind, which I'm. But at the same time, I met a lot of people, met a lot of new contacts and all that kind of stuff, which you just don't do anywhere else. So I am grateful that I went. Got to hang out with these guys in person, and then I had to fly home and, all that kind of stuff, and then had to join us virtually and blah, blah, blah. But it's,
It's my eyeline, right?
Exactly.
That's where you are.
It's a...
What time is it for you?
Oh gosh, I just don't.
Hard
look
to say.
I don't look anymore.
So Ryan, I wonder if some of that is. Do you think some of that could be because you were also there last year? Because I think
that is potentially.
Andre,
a thing.
this is your first year.
Yeah.
You haven't been there in a while.
I've been there a few times, but it's been a while.
And Morgan and Jay, y'all were there last year, but like Ryan said, we kind of had a shopping list, and we have a whole new, different set of connections and ideas out there. So there was like kind of a new set of people we got to interact with because of that. So I wonder if some of our leaving with feeling amazing about it has been, oh, hey, like for me and Cami, our entire first time ever. For Andre, he hadn't been there in years. So I wonder if it's just kind of this
I think you're also right though, Ryan, about we were doing like shopping list is a good way to say it. Like I had a list of problems that I needed solved, and it's like, okay, I got to solve these things. So in that way, you're totally right. Like I was going in like, okay, I have this wireless mic problem I want fixed. I want to figure out my lighting. I want to figure out, each
it's
of
the ultimate shopping. You can walk down and window shop your heart content
for sure. So I think that felt for me, it felt super powerful because it's like, heck yeah, I've just gotten every single major thing I wanted done. And then secondarily for me, some of the meetings that we were able to have And it was a mixture of planned meetings and impromptu meetings. In fact, some of them just felt literally providential, like the odds of me running into this particular person at this time and us having conversations. So for me, there was some serendipitous moments that we'll see if it turns out to be what it looks like in my mind. But in my mind, some pretty epic things are going to happen. Some of those maybe from me just walking in the hallway at the right time. And so to me, that felt really strong. So it was kind of like shopping list, meeting the right people, and then team dynamic improving. And then the last thing I'd say is just that market validation. So back to kind of what Jay was saying, hearing so many other people talk to us about either the difference we've helped them make in their studio. I mean, I had one guy, I've helped him make a lot of money because he's solved a lot of things, through our help and things like that. And so he was super appreciative. And others are just more, like, hey, just helping the team dynamic. It's interesting how many people talked about us as a team. I think that was a different aspect too. And that's intentional on my end to showcase everybody. So it like really brings a lot of joy to me to watch you guys get recognized, because it's like, that's so awesome, because it's not the Andre show. I don't want that. And so it's the whole team in helping elevate everybody and kind of showcase what everybody's up to. So it was really cool. So, hey, thanks for watching. This is a long debrief. Is there anything else that anybody else wanted to make sure and say before we knock out?
I do have one thing, as I'm sitting here editing something for us to also put up when we leave. I will say one other thing that I think we all missed out when we were just describing is a little bit of extra access, like being able to go in before anybody else. So having the exhibitor pass over just the exhibit
that was
pass.
amazing.
And being able to have a home base and a place to put our backpacks.
That was pretty awesome.
That's helpful.
Yeah. So, and being able to work with our friends at ChromaLight and being able to have some camaraderie with them and camaraderie with everybody, but having a booth made a huge difference.
Yeah, it gave a landing spot for sure.
For sure. And,
yeah.
And then a little bit of early access. But otherwise, man, I had a blast.
Look, there's a ton of videos you can watch on YouTube that are go through all the specs and show you every little detail about the camera and whatever. Hopefully from this, this is a long episode, but hopefully you can kind of see a little bit of other part of the dynamics of this. I think going in next year, what I would say is we're going to be a little more intentional about pre-planning some definite like times to meet up, places to meet up, whatever that is, to kind of really push that home. We're going to have to be creative about how we get everybody to that location, whether that's on-site or off-site. There's a lot of competition around the evenings and what's going to happen there. So we have to think that through. But I think even just something as simple as we could figure out lunch really close by, or buy the $400 Quiznos subs and have them for everybody. I don't know what it is, but man, the food was expensive there, by the way. But that was super helpful. But having a way for everybody to kind of organize and get together, I think that's a role that we could play that I saw was kind of missing, because everybody doesn't want to be like take over somebody else. They're trying to all be good partners, but it's like somebody needed to take charge of like, this is when we're meeting and what, why, and where. And there was a YouTuber meetup where Doug Johnson and Ryan and some others were there, and so that was super cool to see that sort. But it was still kind of haphazard, it didn't have I think there could have been some really cool things that could have been gained out of that knowledge base that maybe just instead was kind of just a more meeting and greeting. So I definitely want to consider that. And but I think if you're considering something like this, it doesn't have to be NAB, but it was good to have fun time and work time all around the topic of what we're focused on. So if that's something, make sure and do that. In and out. Yes, please. Philip, that sounds great.
This is reminding me of In and Out. The last brief story we have is about schedule. We didn't all know the schedule. And on the last day,
bring this up. See,
we don't have to.
No,
I can
I'm
stop
kidding.
bringing it up. I can
kidding.
stop the train right now. The brakes can go on.
Hit me.
Tune in next time.
Which is that Andre didn't know that the last day ended at 2.
I could have looked. I could have looked at a schedule,
and we could have told him more. We did have a big schedule drawn up on a whiteboard, but he just didn't have a chance to look at it. Our lead-in to NAB was like taking off at LaGuardia, like whatever the world's shortest.
It was
it was like, oh, we got to go right now.
I thought I had all the time in the world.
And so there was
on
this
the
very
last day.
specific moment where I went up to him like, hey, we need to go. I interrupted a conversation
man,
he was
he is
having
really
with someone.
intense.
And I was talking to him like, yeah, because the show ends at 2. He goes, the show ends at 2?
Oh man, yeah. Let's see. So, let's see. Timmer has something here. Sorry, just jumping in. Want to see if you might have an answer about the 2110.
Basically asking if the fiber converters are compression. The fiber converters that currently exist right now are 12 gigabit fiber converters.
Right.
They convert SDI directly to fiber. And these new converters that are 2110.
We're not cutting to you. I was just.
I'm just talking. I'm just going to keep talking. Those current fiber units, those are 12G down fiber. These new units are up to 10G Ethernet, and they can be fiber as well, but like they can be Ethernet or fiber, but they're Ethernet based rather than direct converters, and they're 2110 based. I'm not sure if the old ones were 2110.
So the question is there compression on the fiber converters?
As far as I know, the 12G fiber converters, no. The new 10G 2110 related converters that come in Ethernet or SFP, yes, but only after 4K 30. Anything up to 4K 30, no compression. It's unclear if 50 has compression. I don't think we ever got an answer on it. They said 50. So starting at 50, there's compression, 50 and 60.
So probably think of it like 6G.
Yeah, more like a 6G SDI.
Yeah, so 6G and below, no compression.
Mm-hmm.
12G, if you think of it like that, and getting into 50 to 60, that's going to be compression. Yeah.
Yep.
Ethernet over optical limited to 12G.
Because it's an SFP port on the new ones, but it's limited to 10G. The old one that was just fiber, that can go up as high as 12G. So if you need uncompressed 4K 60, that's the product for you.
One little surprise, the Ultimate has a 12 gig Ethernet on
10
it.
gig.
10 gig, whatever. 100 gig. It has a 10 gig port on it. So that was kind of interesting. And they're able to do some cool stuff with 2110 into that, which was very just barely mentioned. Very hot off the press of them being able to play with that. Yeah. So coming soon, some stuff with 2110 on the Ultimate as well. Thank you guys for hanging out with us for 2 hours. Oh my goodness. Appreciate your time. And until this next time, we got a couple of exciting debriefs coming up soon, but I'd love to hear feedback on what it was like to do this live. It's not like we have the biggest following, but we always want to see I love seeing everybody's comments. We may do more debriefs live in the future. Thanks for watching. Until next time, see you later.